And with none of the current top four in action this weekend, the spotlight falls firmly on the fight for Premier League survival. An engrossing battle for the neutral, but absolutely gut-wrenching for fans of those clubs. Right at the heart of it, it promises to be a night of now-biting tension here in Sussex, and a potentially pivotal one for the under-fire Steve Bruce. Had Fulham beaten Leeds last night, Newcastle will be coming into this fixture in the relegation zone. As it is, Bruce's men have a huge opportunity to put daylight between them and the Cottagers if they can pick up just their third win in 18 Premier League games. Defeat for the Magpies, and the pressure on Bruce will only intensify over the course of the upcoming international break. As for Brighton, they gave their own hopes of staying up a massive boost by winning at Southampton last Sunday. A follow-up victory here would see them move 6 points clear of the bottom three. Both teams without several key players due to injury. For Brighton, Tariq Lamptey, Adam Webster and Solly March all remain sidelined. Our defender Dan Burn fit enough only for a place on the bench after hobbling off at St Mary's with a problematic hamstring. That means a first Premier League start for Polish midfielder Jakub Moder. Newcastle once again missing Callum Wilson, Alan Saint-Maximin and Fabian Schär. So Bruce gambles on the fitness of Miggy Almiron, who comes straight back into the 11 following his knee issues. Adi Manquillo also starts. Emil Kraft and Dwight Gale, the players dropping to the bench for the Newcastle side that left it very late to draw 1-1 at home to Aston Villa. Last time out, David Conley is our expert summariser this evening. This could just come down to who's braver, David, who really wants the 3 points.
Well, look, we know, Alex, we've seen Brighton so many times that they are going to be brave on the ball. That's how they play. No other way. It looks like they might be a back three, Brighton. You know, they've played that a few times, haven't they? And obviously they did in that second half against Southampton. So, you know, and it's a good back three as well. You know, I think Veltman gives them that little bit of quality. Obviously, you've got White and Duncan there as well. But it's huge. This is a huge game. It's great to be commentating on it. This is massive, both these sides.
Yeah, huge game down at the business end of the Premier League. Does look, as David Conley has articulated there, as if Brighton will start the game with a back three. There was lots of head scratching when the team sheets came in, with Dan Burn on the bench and Jakub Moder, a midfielder by trade, coming into the 11, but it looks like White, Duncan, Veltman will be that back three. Pascal Gross is lining up on the right-hand side of midfield with Moder on the left, Lallana and Basuma central, and then Mope and Welbeck up front with Leandro Trossard in behind. The Newcastle 11 a bit more straightforward, as Anthony Taylor, the referee, with the first toot on his whistle, signalling that. And we will now get off and underway. Newcastle with Dubravka in goal, Manquillo, Clark, Lascelles and Dummett in defence, Willock, Shelby, Hayden in midfield, and then Joe Ellington and Almiron with Fraser up front. And it is Newcastle in their famous black and white stripes, black shorts and black socks, shooting from right to left in this first half, who get us off and underway here on TalkSport 2 at the end of another busy game day. Brighton in their blue jerseys, white shorts and blue socks, attacking the goal away to our right-hand side. One of the normal circumstances, the masses of Newcastle fans will have made a long pilgrimage down from the northeast and will be cheering their team on. Sadly, the stadium sparsely populated, barring us here in the press box. A few stewards splattered around this main stand as well. And the Brighton subs and their Newcastle counterparts sat just below us. We are right at the heart of the action, right behind the two dugouts. It's always fascinating, David Conley, isn't it, to watch the body language of the two managers. Steve Bruce already hands in pockets out on the edge of his technical area. Yeah, one thing he has done by the looks of it, he's just put Joe Linton up against Veltman. You know, Veltman's now moved over to that left-hand side of the three, so normally he'd operate as a right back, wouldn't he, but doing a job on the left-hand side, so maybe he sees a little opportunity there, Bruce. Joe Linton up against him on that side. Ben White winning possession high up the field for Brighton, then hurdling away from a couple of challenges, plays it out to the right-hand side, and Mope, they've got options in the centre, over the head of Trossard and Welbeck, and it was Moder on his full Premier League debut who slices a left-footed shot over the crossbar. Just lacked a little bit of conviction there from the 21-year-old Pole.
There's brilliant play here from Ben White, just stepped in, one possession, was brave, carried the ball into the Newcastle half. Good ball in, wasn't it, from Mope to the back post, but it just bounced right in front of Moder as it kicked up off the turf, off his chest, and it was on the half volley. It's a tough one. just skewed off the outside of his boot.
I mentioned that Anthony Taylor is the referee tonight. That's a good omen for Brighton. They're unbeaten in the last 8 matches that he's taken charge of. Stuart Atwell at Stockley Park will be hoping for a quiet evening on VAR duty. As Martin Dubravka, the Newcastle goalkeeper, plays the ball high into the Sussex sky, the floodlights beaming down on this lush green turf. Brighton looking to pick up where they left off against Southampton last Sunday, and won back-to-back games in the Premier League since beating Spurs here. And home victories have been hard to come by, and it was interesting, David, that the Brighton players almost treated this game as an away match. They met up at a local hotel, they travelled to the stadium on a coach as they would for an away game. Is that just a psychological thing that Graham Potter has brought in?
Possibly. What was he trying to do, get an away performance at home? Something like that. Yeah, I mean, look, I've done that down the years in terms of different clubs, different routines. You meet, you get the bus, you know, you're all on the, everyone knows what time, there's no one being late, like Aubameyang, you know, everyone gets there at the same time, no problems.
Here's Welbeck, raiding down the left-hand side, pokes it in to the area, and another chance from Modder, and this time he puts the shot straight into the gloves of Dubravka. Bit more power on it, but that will be alarming for Steve Bruce. Danny Welbeck racing down the left-hand side, Modder in between the central defenders, and again, maybe should have done better.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just brilliant football from Brighton. Terrific move. And this is Brighton at their very, very best. Good start here from the home team. And might have done a little bit better, as you say.
It's been restricted before tonight. It's just 2 sub-Premier League appearances. The former Lech Poznan man, as Dubravka, all in yellow, comes 2 yards outside his penalty area to clear under pressure from Maupay. Really positive, vibrant start from Brighton.
Well, just looking at Newcastle, I mean, every time it's gone back to the goalkeeper, he's booted it long, and Murphy's sort of saying to him, you know, you're going to try and play out, because when they do that, Brighton have picked it up, and their best chances, Brighton, have come from building from the back.
Very nervous opening 4 minutes for those of you of Newcastle persuasion. Brighton dominating possession as Graham Potter, the Seagulls boss, appears down in the technical area for the first time, arms folded.
Well, just Shelby just lost Modder, you know, has he got the legs to keep up? That's what a lot of Newcastle fans are wondering, you know, base of that midfield. Brighton have a lot of runners running off the back here, and, you know, should they have a Longstaff in there, for example, you know? One of the last games he played, Sean Longstaff, he ran like 12k or something, 13k, and I think you might need legs in there, especially today. You're not going to have a lot of the ball.
He's back on the bench tonight, Sean Longstaff. No sign of brother Matty. Plenty of attacking options for Newcastle as well. Andy Carroll, Matt Ritchie, Dwight Gale, Jeff Hendrick, all amongst their potential replacements. Brighton's squad is perhaps a bit more stretched, as Pascal Gross now collects the ball just on the edge of the area. Maupay again peels away to the right-hand side, tries to cut back the cross, cleared by Hayden, and then swept away in the end by Paul Dummett, making his 3rd successive Premier League start. Dummett. Brighton continuing to ask the majority of the questions. 6 minutes gone, you're listening to Talk Sport 2, Game Day Live. It is Brighton 0, Newcastle 0.
Well, here's Lallana just dropping in between, almost between the back unit, the 2 centre-halves, playing alongside Ibasuma, who'll try and dictate from there as well, but then they've got the talent of the likes of Trossard. Modder started well, hasn't he? He's looked really bright.
Good interview with Ibasuma in the Matchday programme. He was asked if he's fallen in love with that English seaside tradition of fish and chips. He said, no, I like porridge. I think I'd definitely go for a bit of battered cod and some chips ahead of porridge, I have to say, but each their own. Maybe that's why he's a professional athlete and I'm not. Here is Sanchez, all in orange, away to the left-hand side. The Brighton goalkeeper recently called up to the Spain squad for the first time, a mark of the progress that he's made this season.
I remember when I was in the northeast, you know, I went for a walk along the beach, and ice cream van had ice cream van. I said, I'll have a cone, and they said, do you want monkey's blood with that? And I said, what? Monkey's blood? What's that? Strawberry sauce. Yeah, I'll have some strawberry sauce, please. Yeah, monkey's blood.
Here's Maupay, just turns away from Fraser back doing his defensive duty, and into midfield Maupay. Now here is Basuma back into the Brighton half, where Lewis Dunk takes over, and he scored that important goal in the win against Southampton. Lewis Dunk. I was speaking to Glenn Murray actually earlier this week, the former Brighton striker, and he was saying he's surprised that Lewis Dunk is not part of Gareth Southgate's plans, as Gross crosses into the penalty area, and it's Turned behind by Clark for the first corner of the evening.
Yes,
Steve Bruce just takes a look at the watch. There's a long time to go, Steve.
Yeah, this is nothing though. I don't think he would have sort of not wondered or thought he was going to face. He would have known Brighton are going to dominate the ball. And they've looked really dangerous. So they scored from similar sort of side, isn't it? Gross, outswing up for Dunk. Nobody will be the one they're looking for.
Yeah, such a threat, Lewis Dunk, from set pieces, and Gross usually on point with delivery as well. Puts his right arm in the air and plays it towards the 6-yard box and aimed in at Dunk, and I think it was a Newcastle head in the form of Kieran Clark who got there ahead of him. The goalkeeper fouled, and it's going to be a free kick for Newcastle. That was actually good defending from the initial ball. Clark nodding it back towards his own goal. I'm sure Mopé did an awful lot wrong, David Connolly.
No, I didn't see too much, but look, you're always going to get that as the keeper. But this is interesting because, you know, the centre halves are split inside the box.
Missed it.
The keeper's missed it. Just going back to this, and now Hayden's pulled out to this side to try and get, and he's asked for this from the goalkeeper every time. Right, finally he's played it. It's not the best kick to him.
Yeah, brought down well though by Hayden, right in front of us on this left-hand side. Fraser dispossessed by the excellent Ben White. With a really good maiden season in the Premier League after helping Leeds United in their 16-year exile in the lower divisions last season.
Complete contrast in styles here, isn't it? Complete contrast. Brighton always building from the back, you know, trying to cut through, play through the thirds, and Newcastle very back front.
Lewis Dunk volleying the ball clear just outside the Brighton penalty area. 0-0 the score on FA Cup quarter-final weekend. Wins already live on TalkSport for Southampton against Bournemouth in that South Coast derby. 3-0 comfortable for Ralph Hasenhüttl's side. And then Manchester City made to work hard for it, but their quest for a quadruple goes on. They beat Everton by 2-0. That was live and exclusive over on TalkSport. And a busy day in the EFL as well, not least with the South Wales derby. Swansea beaten at home by their bitter rivals Cardiff. You heard that game just before we came on air here at the Amex. A bit of a bird fiend tonight.
Well, look at, I guess, both sides, centre-forwards. They are so wide. Mopé's almost operating as a right winger. Welbeck as a left winger. And then they've got the likes of Trossard in between.
Jonjo Shelvey, though, seizing upon a loose pass from White and racing towards the area. Really good tackle, perfectly timed, sliding in there, Basuma, to win it back for Brighton. That's why he's on the radar of some of the biggest clubs in the Premier League, Basuma. Had to get that absolutely spot on, and he did so. And Brighton have it back now with Lewis Dunk. We've played 10 minutes. It's still goalless here at the Amex.
Yeah, great recovery, wasn't it? I know you're a big fan of his, aren't you?
Huge.
Yeah, I mean, he goes to ground, he wins an awful lot, breaks things up, and that's where you need the talent, though, to go alongside it in the middle of the park, you know, to go and progress you forward. They've got that in there. I mean, Trossard's always just operating off the front in those little pockets. Gross comes on the inside, but the two strikers really wide, Mopé especially, just hugging this right touchline.
Yeah, Danny Welbeck operating centrally. Adam Lallana's been in good form of late as well, here against Leicester, a game that David Connolly and I commentated on TalkSport 2, and against Southampton last week as well. Gross sliding it to the edge of the area. That man Modder, he's had a couple of sighters already. Lallana flicked it over the top. It's cleared away by Jonjo Shelvey. Brighton really pleasing on the eye in these opening 11 minutes. As Hayden plays it forward for Newcastle. Now Miron, back from that knee problem, pirouettes away from Pascal Gross, and Fraser now with the streak of blonde hair gives the ball away cheaply to Basuma. And Brighton maybe now can attack at number. Here is Leandro Trossard away from Hayden. Trossard to the edge of the area, cuts it back for Basuma. I think he took a small nick off a Newcastle player, but it was a comfortable save down low to the left by Dubravka.
Yeah, nice little give and go here. It's probably, you want it the other way around, don't you, really? Basuma just giving it to Trossard on the edge of the box. Didn't really put his foot through it, went with his side foot, and in the end a very comfortable save.
He was sent off, Basuma, late in the game with St James's Park. Didn't change the outcome. Brighton 3-0 winners, and they're looking for their first double over Newcastle since 1979. What a massive boost it would be to their survival hopes if they could get that 3 points and just put daylight between them and the bottom three. Fulham beaten at home by Leeds last night. That would have given both these managers a boost pre-match.
Well, it's another long ball up from Dubravka, which is easily then gathered by that big Brighton backline, especially the likes of White and Dunk. So they're just, you know, they're going to face an awful lot of the ball here, Newcastle. Do a lot of chasing shadows.
Back to Sanchez with the white boots, the Brighton goalkeeper. Put under pressure by Almiron, but finds White on the edge of the area, and Lallana calmly rolls it back to the 6'6" custodian of the Brighton goal. Here is Lallana wearing gloves in the centre circle, spins away and strikes a lovely ball out with his right hand side, and Gross chips it forward. Welbeck has come over to the right hand side. Now Gross again. Lovely football again from Brighton. The pass from Gross slightly behind Lallana, and Miggy Almiron back there on the ball for Newcastle. Here's Hayden now down the left hand side. Player has been linked with the move to Brighton in recent transfer windows. Here's Almiron racing down the left and trying to pick out Joe Ellington. Swept clear by Veltman and chested down inside the centre circle by Jamal Lascelles. Here's John Joe Shelby now making his 150th league appearance in a Newcastle shirt. John Joe Shelby goes long, chested down by Joe Ellington. Good defending again though by Joel Veltman. What a bargain buy he's been. Less than £1 million from Ajax, Joel Veltman. He's just a good old-fashioned defender. Yeah, he got round on the cover really well. I mean, that's where Shelby's going to hurt you, from deep positions in that sort of quarterback role, picking it up off the back unit, trying to spot those little runs from out to in. Good run there from Joelinton, but equally matched by Veltman. The views of David Conley, the former Republic of Ireland striker, here on Day Live on TalkSport 2. 14 minutes play. Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. Newcastle yet to beat Brighton in the Premier League. 7 meetings so far, only 1 goal scored. And just going back to that, do you not think that, Joelinton's just got to be a bit stronger, hasn't he? He's just got to hold that ball up and just shrug off Veltman. Look, Veltman's not the biggest either, so... Lallana, good ball scoop forward again. Looks like Modder trying to get on the end of it. Made some really clever runs. Jakob Modder, it was a good ball scooped over the top by Lallana, but Newcastle with enough black and white jerseys back to clear the danger. We're only 14 minutes into his full Premier League debut, David Conley, but I like the look of Jakob Modder. Yeah, he's looked really bright, and obviously you need those players in behind to pick out the runs, and they've done that ever so well. What I like is a little bit of rotation in terms of if Welbeck comes inside and plays as a striker, then Modder goes really high and wide like a winger, and vice versa. Welbeck's wide, Modder's on the inside, then he makes those little runs off the back of the likes of Shelby in between the centre half and fullback. It's really clever. Hayden's found Almiron, who was coming back from an offside position, but the flag stayed down. Fraser linking up with Almiron. Finally the flag does go up. The cross was overhit anyway, and Brighton have a free kick. I mean, you mentioned the contrast of styles. The onus very much on Brighton to play on the front foot. That's what Graham Potter demands of his team. Steve Bruce, in contrast, naturally more cautious manager perhaps, and they spend a lot of time, Newcastle, out of possession, but there's no room for jeopardy, is there really? No room for error. No. You have to be absolutely on point, focused, fully committed for the entire game. If you make one mistake and you go behind, very hard to work your way back into the game. Yeah, and look, possession isn't king, is it? We know that. And even looking at Brighton stats, which was given to Graham Potter this week, in terms of a lot of their wins have come from games when they haven't had the lion's share of possession, and it's been put to him, well, do you really need to boss the ball as much as you want to do, or is it just a quirk? Is it just coincidence? Look, Leicester are a side that don't really have the ball that much, won the league that way. You obviously that's not an issue, but it's just whether you've got the ability at the back to keep it tight and also offer a threat up top. Yeah, and Newcastle they haven't had that, have they? And you have to say they have had injuries at bad times. Callum Wilson, clearly such a source of goals, sidelined as Mopé plays it out to the left hand side. Modder with a return pass. Trossard picks it up just on the edge of the area, cuts it back for Mopé. Again, it's with Trossard just in the corner of that 18-yard box, looking for Modder on the overlap. Pass was a poor one, and Hayden able to usher the ball out of play for a goalkeeper. And Sam Maximam as well. I think you touched on the game against Wolves. He was really good, wasn't he? Yes. Until he got injured. So there have been extenuating circumstances. Yeah, absolutely. He's got a great goal, didn't he, against Man United, so they have missed him. What has he had? Only 12 starts or something? That's nothing, is it? And he's responsible for a huge percentage of the goals that Newcastle have scored, not just in terms of him putting the ball in the back of the net himself, but assists as well, Callum Wilson, and they do struggle without him, no question about that. That's why Steve Bruce felt to have had little choice but to gamble on the fitness of Miguel Almiron following that knee problem. You do wonder how able to play tonight, but there is an international break to come. As Kieran Clark plays it out to the right-hand side. We welcome listeners from Talk Sport. 17 minutes gone here. It's Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. Brighton dominating possession. Had two good opportunities, both of them falling the way of Jakub Moder, the Polish debutant, unable to beat the goalkeeper Dubravka. Newcastle yet to really test Sanchez. Away to our left, here's David Connolly.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant start from Brighton, as we've seen so many times here at the Amex. Dominating possession, carved a couple of chances, haven't really taken any of them yet.
Long punt forward by Clark, looking for a run of Joe Willett well forward, but it carries all the way through to Sanchez, very comfortable, with balls hanging in the air, Sanchez.
And a complete contrast in styles. Brighton always building from the back, from the goalkeeper, playing through the thirds, and their movement and rotation is outstanding. And Newcastle, pretty basic, from the goalkeeper, knocking it long, trying to play off second balls and go from there. So they're in for a lot of chasing tonight, Newcastle. They're already just chasing shadows so far.
It's like the football equivalent of the Beauty and the Beast here at the Amex. I'm the Beauty, David Connolly's the Beast. It's still Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. Here's Lewis Dunk at the heart of the Newcastle defence. Forward he goes to Lallana. All the time in the world, Lallana, when he picks up the ball in the centre circle, can't quite release Moder. Don't know about Yves Bissouma and his porridge. Jakub Moder's definitely had his Weetabix, David Connolly. He's absolutely everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah, and unless you are going from Dubravka up to Joe Linton or maybe Hayden, it's just coming straight back. He just went long there to Ryan Fraser, who's probably the smallest player on the pitch, and no surprise, it's back in Brighton's hands.
When you mention about whether it's a deliberate ploy from Graham Potter, Brighton to out-football sides, out-pass sides, I think it is, because you have to remember really the whole reason that Graham Potter came in to replace Chris Hughton, who'd done an excellent job taking Brighton into the Premier League and stabilising them as a top-flight club, was because the owners here wanted a more attractive and more expansive brand of football. That's what Potter has delivered, without necessarily picking up too many more points, it has to be said, than his predecessor. Here's Bissouma, plays it out to the left-hand side, chance for Moder to cross, deep one into the area, headed up and away by Lascelles. There was an offside flag up anyway, and it's a free kick for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, in Potter's defence, he got their best ever finish, didn't he? 41 or whatever it was, so... And he's another... This is his way of playing, right? This is Potter's way, and all you do each season is incrementally enhance the quality and refine it. And I guess with signings or whatever, that's why Pep talks so glowingly about him, because he probably considers him a little bit of a clone in that way, in terms of how he wants to play the game of football. But he just probably would like an upgrade in certain positions to make sure they've got more of a cutting edge.
There's a definite philosophy here as well. Brighton, in their recruitment, trying to sign players for the future. We talked a lot about the 21-year-old Moder already tonight. He is certainly one of those such players. They've got Percy Tau on the bench today, signed from South Africa, someone they rate really highly as well. Moises Caicedo, 19-year-old Ecuadorian, came in probably as a successor to Yves Bissouma. I think Brighton know they won't be able to keep Bissouma long term. They've also got Mikhail Karbovnik, another young Pole. So I think there's a definite plan here, but of course central to that plan is Brighton staying in the Premier League. They've got a magnificent stadium. The training ground is state of the art. That only really matters, David Connolly, if you're in the top flight.
Yeah, it does. I mean, just looking at, I was looking, you do your bit of research a bit, and I did a couple of courses with Hope Powell. Brighton women are going great. I think she was manager of the month. The under-18s have won 5 in a row. And then you look at Newcastle, I think the reserves are struggling, down near the bottom. I know Brighton's 23s are doing great. The under-18s are struggling near the bottom, so it's a club at the minute. Could really do with some wins everywhere, all across the board. It does start with the top, doesn't it, with the first team? Everything starts there, because the academy didn't really care if the first team were winning. Well, yes and no, because they're kind of separate, but just makes for a harmonious football club if results are good all across the board.
There's a big blue canvas banner behind Sanchez's goal, Sussex by the sea, and to use that analogy, Newcastle drifting really. They're a ship with no captain. We know that if he possibly could, Mike Ashley would love to sell the club. He isn't going to invest heavily for them to do anything more than just survive in the Premier League, just finish 17th. And I think until that changes, until there's a change at boardroom level, Newcastle fans are just going to grow more and more frustrated. I mentioned in our pre-match chat, I think probably Steve Bruce will be grateful at the moment that St James's Park is empty, because I think he would be taking an awful lot of flack week in, week out. Here is Joe Willett. dispossessing Basuma in the heart of the Brighton midfield, but it's quickly won back by White. Here's Pascal Gross trying to make hay down the right-hand side. Dummett does well just to help the ball out of play, albeit at the expense of a Brighton throw. We've reached almost the midway point of the first half, still 0-0 in this crunch relegation 6-pointer. And it's a throw in that Pascal Gross takes and goes back into the Brighton half, and White. All of these Brighton defenders very comfortable, very capable of playing the ball out from the back. Sanchez plays it short out to the left-hand corner of the area this time, and Lewis Dunk, the captain. And Potter just urging his side to get a bit higher up the field. Here is White.
Well, it's like a game of chess, isn't he? Just moving his pieces around, talking to Pascal Gross. Right, you come on the inside, he'll put that little pocket, Trossard's in that little pocket, Mopé, you push on a little bit higher. It's very expansive. What they need is a goal. You know, we saw it against Leicester, they got an early goal for their efforts. They haven't got one here so far.
They haven't exactly peppered that goal despite all the possession. Here is Neil Mopé, the Frenchman, into Lallana. You might get a shot off here. Lallana plays it forward instead to Leandro Trossard. Just tried to fire it across the 6-yard box, well blocked by Jamal Lascelles. And now it's on the right-hand side with Pascal Gross again, still 0-0. Here's Dunk, high up the field for Brighton, finds White on this right touchline. He goes all the way back to Sanchez in goal, and Newcastle have got every outfield player now back inside their own half. Dunk trying to chip it over the top for Mopé, racing in behind Clark, but it carries all the way through to the goalkeeper Dubravka.
And I guess the chessboard's not a bad analogy, Potter, because when you look at the pitch, you know, there's the dark where it's been cut, you know, you've got the dark green little square, you've got a light green square, and that is where he gets these players moving, you know, and the rotation, everything is really good, but all that counts for nothing if you don't get results, right? You know, it really doesn't.
You're listening to Brighton against Newcastle on TalkSport 2 with Now. Don't forget you can watch Brighton against Newcastle live right now on Sky Sports for just £9.99. Search Now Sports. Steve Bruce just taking a swig from his water bottle. Only 5 managers in Premier League history have taken charge of more games in the competition than the Newcastle boss.
There's big Dan Burn just coming in front of us. He's an absolute giant, isn't he? From the northeast as well.
Yeah, he was speaking in the programme again, an excellent interview, and he grew up in Blythe. His dad was a Newcastle season ticket holder, so I'm sure he would have loved to have played tonight, and it can only really be that problematic hamstring keeping out. There's a bit of a risk from Sanchez, bowling it out to Ben White, almost stolen away by Fraser, but Brighton now have a throw right in front of the 2 dugouts. Graham Jones, part of Steve Bruce's backroom staff, who a moment ago was up in the press box, I think just watching replays of 1 or 2 incidents with the Newcastle analyst. He's back there now barking instructions, and he looks like he's doing some reorganising. David Connolly spotted something.
Well, they're just trying to get a hold on how Brighton are playing. You know, probably didn't anticipate they'd be playing sort of this way with the 2 split strikers, not too dissimilar to how Newcastle play, but they just do it a little bit better. You know, the wing backs go high, and you know, it's just something they're just trying to sort of get a handle on here at the minute. Newcastle, we'll have to see if they rejig something, try and match them up, but either way, look, it comes back to a style here. You got a goal kick, and everyone from Dubravka has gone long, and I think they've gathered one. Other than that, you know, it's always ended up in Brighton hands.
And Graham Jones has now raced back up the steps, probably 20-25 steps, to take a keen eye on that computer screen once again, having relayed what he's noticed to Steve Bruce and the Newcastle players. Here's Modder down the left-hand side for Brighton, still goalless here at the Amex Stadium. Alex Cook and David Connolly calling the action. Basuma rolls it low on the floor to Gross on this right-hand side. Padded forward from Mopé, tried to cut the cross back for Lallana. Just a bit too intricate from Brighton at times, and it's swept away by Clark for a throw.
Yeah, what I don't like what Newcastle do is from the goal kicks, you know, you have Hayden on the left wing, pushes up high, Joelinton on the opposite side, and you know, if the keeper goes to one or the other, they're going to be isolated, you know, and half the time the whole team don't know which side Dubravka's kicking to, so it's confusing for us to look at, because I think, right, if this is coming out to me, Joelinton, I'm completely on my own, who am I going to flick it to? There's nobody out there.
Once Brighton going long, Sanchez hoofs it forward, but it's picked up inside the Newcastle half by Willock on loan from Arsenal. They go all the way back to Dubravka again, who Smashes it right-footed up into the sky. Dunk there above Joe Ellington. Just wanted it a bit more, Lewis Dunk, and then Lallana's found Maupay. He's in behind Clark. Maupay, can he get the ball out from under his feet inside the area? Clark did really well in the end, and Lascelles stabbed it away to his left-hand side.
Yeah, I think Maupay just needed a little bit more pace on the pass there from Lallana. Right idea though, he's always threatening in behind Maupay, isn't he? Always on the last man, on the last shot. We saw that against Newcastle, against Leicester, and Lallana slipped him in first time. Just marginally offside though for the goal.
Only Glenn Murray has scored more Premier League goals for Brighton than Neil Maupay, 7 this season, but none in his last 10 matches. I think he has played in a slightly different role, with Danny Welbeck at times operating as a central striker. At the moment, Welbeck has come over to the left, Maupay to the right, and Trossard just occupying that space in the centre. Makes it difficult for this Newcastle defence to work out exactly who they should be picking up. Brighton have possession with 28 minutes played, still goalless, back inside their own half. Don't forget, more FA Cup football coming your way tomorrow. The high noon showdown between Chelsea and Sheffield United will be live on Talk Sport. It's a tall order for Sheffield United, that one. Then Manchester United against Leicester later in the day at the King Power. Arguably the tie of the round in the quarter-finals. Southampton and Manchester City safely through to Wembley, live on Talk Sport earlier today. Cleared away by Dummett, the Newcastle left back. Dunk chips it forward. Wasn't a bad pass actually, into Gross, and then Maupay switches it out to the left-hand side, and Modder. Welbeck has made a run ahead of him, gets to the byline. Welbeck tries to cut back the cross, but it loops off a Newcastle defender, and Dubravka jumps high into the Sussex sky and claims the ball, but they just can't get out here. Newcastle, Almiron trying to wriggle away from Basuma, forward to Fraser. Dunk, or White I should say there, sticks out a long right leg and wins it back for Brighton. Lallana out to Gross on the right hand side. They're queuing up in the centre. It was a low ball again. Hayden pats it back to Dummett, who sweeps it clear left-footed. The delivery at times from Brighton from the wide areas hasn't really been good enough, David.
No, they're just trying to pick someone out, being a bit too intricate.
Oh, that's a good ball from Trossard though. Gross makes a run to the byline, drills the cross in low again, all the way across the penalty area. And there's a foul by Danny Welbeck on Lascelles. It's going to be a free kick for Newcastle inside their own 6-yard box. The movement from Brighton at times is absolutely sensational. The Newcastle defence having to work doubly hard just to keep with their runners. Yeah,
it just looks like they do favour this little cutback cross. But going back to Newcastle, you know, they're under an awful lot of pressure there, and Dubravka got the ball in his hands, and rather than settling down and getting everyone up the pitch, he just bowled it straight out to Miggy Almiron, who had nothing on. He was completely pressed, had nowhere to go. They lost possession and faced another attack, and that's what led to that cross coming in the box. So, you know, I think he's got to recognise, Martin Dubravka, that, you know, they're under an awful lot of pressure here. So at times, just not on to quickly go on the counter. Settle down, get your team up the pitch, relieve the pressure somewhat.
Just confirmation, Chelsea against Sheffield United is a 1:30 kick-off tomorrow on Talk Sport. Troy Deeney amongst our commentary team. Leicester Manchester United, a 5 o'clock kick-off with Jim Proudfoot and Dean Ashton. And you can react to that game with Darren Bent, Darren Ambrose and myself in Darren Bent's boot room. We've also got a really interesting interview with David McGoldrick, the Sheffield United striker, speaking about the Chris Wilder departure and how that played out from inside the dressing room. Join us tomorrow night from 7 o'clock for that. Here is Ben White, infield to Yves Basuma, the Malian. And now over on the left-hand side is Joel Veltman, still goalless. Brighton still probing, still asking questions of this Newcastle defence for the moment. Steve Bruce's men holding firm. This is Pascal Gross with a drill cross into the air, and he's done really well to pick out Danny Welbeck. If that was the pass that was intended, Welbeck with a cross, guided away by Dummett. Fraser being put under pressure in the left-back position by Ben White high up the field, and Dummett plays it back to Fraser, and then just has to clip it down this left-hand side.
There's just no way out
for them. A big conflab going on inside the Newcastle technical area as well, David Conley.
Yeah, there's just no way out for them. You know, when they do turn the ball over, Fraser's so deep, sets it back to Dummett. He's got absolutely nowhere to go. He looks up. There's not one Newcastle player anywhere near the halfway line, so he just clears it aimlessly straight to a Brighton head, and they got possession back.
Only Southampton have picked up fewer points in 2021 than Newcastle, as Lallana is dispossessed by Dummett with a slide tackle, but Maupay there to poke it away from Clark, and races to keep it in play on this right-hand side. Again, a low ball into the area. This time John Joe Shelvey has to clear it away, just hobbling away from that John Joe Shelvey. He's picked up now by Basuma just on the halfway line. 0-0 at the Amex. Lewis Dunk racing away from Almiron.
Well, they're not afraid to do that, are they? You know, the Brighton back unit driving the ball in the other half. Dan Burns excellent at that, but look at Ben White. He's been so good so far, isn't he? I mean, he is quick, he's aggressive, intelligent. You know, he's putting Fraser under so much pressure. He's got nowhere to go, Fraser.
He's played more minutes for Brighton this season in the Premier League than any of his teammates, Ben White. And here he is in the right wing position. Collects the pass from Trossard and then tries to give it back to Trossard. Little back heel into the Belgian, but John Joe Shelvey again sliding in to clear for Newcastle. It's all hands on deck for Steve Bruce's side. With 13 minutes remaining in the first half. Still goalless. John Joe Shelvey looking to pick out Willock inside the centre circle. Modder was there first. It's all the way back now to Sanchez in that Brighton penalty area. Away to our left-hand side. Here's Basuma, forward to Modder. Mopé again has peeled out to the right touchline, but Modder goes central into Trossard, who wriggles away from John Joe Shelvey, then helped on by Gross to Mopé. Good challenge by Dummett, but doesn't keep the ball for very long. Here is Trossard, just on the edge of the area. Trossard into the feet of Mopé, actually slightly overcooked. It's going to be a throw, and I just wonder at times, David Conley, and maybe that was a prime example, Trossard running at the Newcastle defence. Should they try and get some shots away from outside the area?
Yeah, I think he just couldn't quite see Lallana. He was just lurking behind. I think it might have been Shelvey, so he needed another option rather than going wide. And we've seen this at times as well with Brighton. Just looking at Dubravka, who's just gone down on his haunches. He's up now, but you know, are they sort of good enough in and around the box to open things up? I think they're great in the, you know, the back part of the pitch and the middle third of the pitch, but have they got that real quality to really hurt teams in that final third? And I think that's where at times, only at times, it's been hard for them in certain games. In and around a packed defence, I think they look great when their spaces are big, but when they're a little bit tighter, it's a bit harder for them.
Dubravka is sat down inside the 6-yard box. Looks like he's got a problem with the right leg. Steve Bruce taking the opportunity to call over his Newcastle players.
Apart from Miggy Almiron.
Well, no, actually Almiron came over first, and they had a sort of one-on-one conversation. And Almiron has now walked away. Steve Bruce very animated in conversation with Isaac Hayden. Joe Ellington, part of a 5-man Newcastle party that have come over to the touchline. Almiron actually is coming back over now. Both sets of players taking the opportunity to have a bit of a drinks break. I'm not sure the temperatures this evening really warrant that, but Dubravka back on his feet, still stretching out that right ankle.
Well, if anything was going to change, Alex, in terms of how Newcastle are shaping up, it's going to be from here on in, isn't it? You know, that's the moment where Steve and his coaching staff had the chance to talk to his players. It's like Miguel might be moving out to the right-hand side.
There's a bit of a tactical switch up here from Steve Bruce. 10 minutes of the first half to play. You're listening to Game Day Live on TalkSport 2. It is Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. Actually, for all their territorial domination, the 2 saves that Dubravka has been made to make by Brighton are pretty routine ones. Here is Joe Linton down the left-hand side. Again, a perfectly timed challenge from the sliding Basuma. It's going to be a Newcastle throw, which Fraser takes into Isaac Hayden. Just a bit rushed there, Newcastle. They do win another throw. Level with the Brighton penalty area, away to our left-hand side. A rare opportunity here for the team from the northeast to commit bodies forward. Hayden against Lallana on the touchline, tries to cut it back for Fraser. Fraser with a little dink cross, deflects off Basuma, and Newcastle have their first corner. Well, we mentioned the threat that Brighton pose attacking set pieces. They aren't always the best at defending them. I'm sure this will be an area that Steve Bruce over the course of the last few days will have been planning to exploit. John Joe Shelvey with a bold head is going to take the corner from this left-hand side. Fraser has made a darting run to the near post. Shelvey thought better of playing the ball in early. Jamal Lascelles will be a big threat, going to make a late run. Lascelles, it's aimed in towards him. I think it was Trossard who got his head on the ball. Almiron recycles it back out to the left-hand side. Shelvey with a deep cross this time, and it's nodded harmlessly behind for a goal kick. Isaac Hayden on the end of that cross.
Oh, I think he's just motioning there. He just lost it in the floodlights, maybe, because it was a really good ball from Shelvey to the back post. He's in a little pocket of space there. He'll be disappointed. It's a poor header. I think, as he says, though, maybe he just lost that in the floodlights.
And Steve Bruce's reaction, arms behind his back, looked up to the heavens. Seems to be the game plan, soak up the pressure and try and hit on the counter-attack, try and capitalise on set pieces.
Well, Joelinton is now down through the middle. It's probably like a 4-3-3 for them, you know, with Fraser on the left and Almiron on the right. That looks how they're shaping up since that little break.
Adam Lallana plays it infield to Pascal Gross. Ben White. Lewis Dunk takes over. We go inside the Brighton half, away to our left. Here's Ben White, very cultured central defender, forward to Mope, who's got room to turn inside the Newcastle half. Rolls it back to Lallana. And then Lallana fizzes a ball low along the ground to Veltman. Only Sanchez back inside the Brighton half as the home team come forward here. Lallana out to Trossard, who in turn finds Gross just in from the touchline. Trossard continues his run into the penalty area, pulls it back along the box. Mope with a shot, 4 yards out. Neil Mope, I think it was the trailing leg of Dubravka that kept that ball out the back of the net, but again Brighton really should have done better. Wasn't a confident swipe of the right leg by Mope. Here down the right hand side now is Modder for Brighton, trying to find Gross, who pirouettes neatly away from Dummett. Pressure mounting here on Newcastle. Gross has actually tricked himself in the end, and I think he crossed it with his right foot against his standing left leg and out for a goal kick. What about the chance for Mope?
Yeah, it was really good football again. Lallana just with a cute little pass on the inside, and they work it out to the right wing. Trossard gives it, then he goes again. Aiden just loses him. He cuts the ball back. It is Mope with that little finish. I think it comes off a defender. Might have been Clark who got in the way.
Just didn't strike it with any real conviction, did he, Mope? It was Clark. The goalkeeper, I think, would have had it covered with the leg anyway.
Good football, though. I mean, that's what they will do. Their approach play will be really good. It's just that final little finish for them.
Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. 6 minutes of the first half remaining. Newcastle coming into the weekend on 28 points. 37 has been enough to stay in the Premier League in 8 of the last 9 seasons. 3 wins from their last 9 matches after tonight. Might be a tall order. They've got many of the so-called Big Six still to play, Newcastle. Actually, if you look at the corresponding 9 fixtures, the reverse meetings, they only took 6 points. That's why this game is so pivotal for Steve Bruce.
Well, they're going to have to do the ugly stuff, you know, off the ball, Trossard and the like. You know, they make so many good runs in behind, and Modder, and at times Newcastle have just let them go, you know, so they're sort of living on the edge at the minute, Newcastle.
Basuma's floated a lovely crossfield pass out to Danny Welbeck. In space, Welbeck against Almiron. Plays it back infield to Basuma. Mope has pointed where he wants the pass. Basuma goes back to Lewis Dunk. Newcastle defending manfully. They've had to soak up an awful lot of possessional pressure without Brighton carving too many glaring goal-scoring chances. Here is Mope up against Clark. Plays it back to White. Now White down the right-hand side to Pascal Gross, the German. Basuma in the bright pink footwear again floats that same diagonal out to the left-hand side. He was looking this time for Modder. So, cleared away by Newcastle, and then there was a foul by Modder. There's a free kick in the right-back position as Almiron just tried to scamper the ball clear. Goes down.
Well, I was thinking obviously they'd lost that little bit of height with Dan Burn out the team, but Modder's big as well, isn't he? You know, he's a big lad out on that left-hand side. He's got a little bit of everything.
You're listening to Brighton against Newcastle on TalkSport 2 with WeBuyAnyCar.com. Don't part exchange, get money off your next car. Go to WeBuyAnyCar.com. 4 minutes of the opening 45 remain. Steve Bruce still trudging up and down his technical area. Nervously trudging. Graham Potter to his left-hand side looks altogether more relaxed. The former Swansea manager, no stranger to a stalemate as we are at the moment. 25 draws in the Premier League, Brighton, since Graham Potter took charge back in 2019. 11 this campaign, joint most with Fulham. They could have just turned 2 or 3 of those draws into wins. They would be sitting much prettier in the Premier League. There's a foul by Basuma. I think he just caught Hayden with the slide tackle. Hayden He's going to need a little bit of treatment here, David Connolly.
Yeah, he looks in some distress here, Hayden. Obviously they've signalled for the physios to come on. Fingers crossed this isn't, well, as bad as it looks, because he looks in an awful lot of pain here.
Slapping the floor in agony, Isaac Hayden. He's holding his left knee. Straight away the Newcastle physio racing on to administer treatment. Steve Bruce actually on the pitch at the moment in conversation with Paul Dummett. Ryan Fraser just being beckoned over to this touchline as well. I mean, clearly they're not happy, Newcastle, with the way the game has gone so far, because they've been outplayed, haven't they? Let's be honest.
Look, anyone who's watched Brighton, and they would have known this, would have known this is exactly what they would have faced. Villa had it, Leicester had it first half, so they would have known, especially how Newcastle normally set up. I don't think their shape to start has worked in terms of that sort of diamond with the two split strikers. They abandoned that, and it looks like Joelinton is down through the middle now, but they might have another rejig, it looks like.
Jeff Hendrick, I think, is being readied. Isaac Hayden still down, and the physio using the microphone on the lapel of his jacket is, I think, relaying that Isaac Hayden won't be able to continue. More injury woes for Steve Bruce. Just can't buy a break at the moment, the Newcastle manager. They're going to be forced to make a change here with 2 minutes the first half remaining. 0-0 the score. Alex Crook and David Connolly, your commentary team at the Amex, and we've got some international commentaries for you as well over the course of the next few days. On Wednesday, Belgium against Wales. That's a World Cup qualifier live on TalkSport 2. And Thursday night should be straightforward enough. We'll also have updates from Scotland against Austria, and that's on TalkSport. Alternatively, on TalkSport 2, Italy, Northern Ireland. Looks like a couple of tricky fixtures there for both Wales and for Northern Ireland. The stretcher is coming on. This is never nice to see, David Connolly.
No, it's not. Fingers crossed. This is.
We haven't actually seen a replay, have we?
No, I don't.
Yves Bissouma looks distraught, by the way. He's just being consoled by Danny Welbeck.
It's hard to know. Obviously those two had a tackle. I think they're both fair players. I know Hayden goes in hard, and so does Bissouma. We've seen Bissouma go to ground a few times, but he's always won the ball cleanly. But there was a challenge, and obviously Hayden's come out the wrong way. Whether they got stuck in the turf or not, we don't know. But
well, just judging by the reaction of Yves Bissouma, who's still shielding his face on his jersey, this doesn't look good at all for Isaac Hayden. He's been down for several minutes now.
Bissouma, he would not want a fellow pro to be badly injured. Fingers crossed Hayden isn't, but it doesn't look good here.
Jeff Hendrick is going to come on, and they're very slowly going to try and lift Isaac Hayden onto the bright orange stretcher. And Brighton players have got an extra ball just to warm up. We're going to watch a replay now. I think actually Yves Bissouma fell into Hayden, and I think that left leg was probably rooted into the turf, and that's where the injury has come. No malice from Yves Bissouma. Wasn't even a tackle worthy of the name, but just really unfortunate. As we welcome once again listeners from TalkSport, we're into stoppage time, of which there are going to be several minutes. 0-0 the score, but a serious injury here for Isaac Hayden, who's just being helped onto a stretcher. An innocuous incident, Yves Bissouma falling into the planted left leg of Isaac Hayden, and this is not nice to see, David Connolly.
No, it's not. Fingers crossed he's going to be okay. It's not as bad as it looks here, but yeah, I mean, he didn't know anything about it, Hayden. I think he was probably facing the other way, and Bissouma just clattered into Shelby and then bounced off Shelby, then fell into Hayden. He wasn't even looking, landed on his back leg, and it just seemed to twist in the turf. So yeah, he's getting stretchered off now, so our thoughts are with him. Fingers crossed he's okay.
It'll be Jeff Hendrick to come on. It never rains but it pours as far as Steve Bruce is concerned, certainly on the injury front, and this is another major setback for the men from St James's Park, and personally as well for Isaac Hayden. We wish him all the best as he is carried off by 6 stretcher bearers and just got a pat on the head there from Basuma. As I say, no blame attached to the Brighton defender. He's almost in tears at one stage, Basuma, and having to be consoled by Danny Welbeck. It does mean we will be going into several added minutes at the end of this first half, and it remains Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. Just confirmation of that change. Jeff Hendrick, the former Burnley midfielder, coming on for Hayden. Certainly the problem appears, doesn't it, David, to be that left leg, which is heavily strapped.
Yeah.
Hayden just letting out a little prayer as he is helped back down to the dressing room area. I would imagine into a waiting ambulance to go to hospital. And our thoughts, as we say, go out to Isaac Hayden there. It can be difficult as well, can't it, as an opposing player. Basuma now needs to get mentally back in the game and almost blank that incident from his mind.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can tell he was a bit distressed there, but I mean, it's a like-for-like change. Hendrick's on, playing in obviously his place, left side attacking mid.
Here is Trossard, left corner of the area, brought the ball neatly from the sky, might get a shot off here. Trossard into the bottom corner. It's a right foot rocket from Leandro Trossard to heap more misery and more pressure on Steve Bruce. What a big goal that could be for Brighton. Leandro Trossard, the match winner at St Mary's last weekend, comes up with the goods in stoppage time. It is Brighton 1, Newcastle 0.
Well, this is a terrific goal from Trossard. It's made by Veltman, playing as that left side centre-back. He spots the run of Trossard, always darting in behind. Here he is on the shoulder, great touch out the sky. Then he drives on the inside and just tries to bend that into the far corner. Dubravka at full stretch can get nowhere near it. Great goal. Lovely bend on the ball just to start outside the post and bring it back in. Good 20 yards out. Lovely finish.
Once again, listeners from TalkSport joining our coverage here on TalkSport 2. A big goal for both these relegation strugglers. Brighton taking the lead in first half stoppage time. Leandro Trossard cutting in from the left-hand side, and a right foot curler into the bottom corner from fully 20 yards out. No chance, Dubravka. And Newcastle, who have had to soak up an awful lot of pressure over the course of this first half, suddenly David Conley is surely going to have to change their game plan in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had the Hayden injury, so it couldn't get any worse, and immediately concede a goal, but it's a really well worked goal. Absolutely brilliant, great run in behind. The pass from Veltman is outstanding, and he cuts on the inside and just bends that beautifully into the bottom corner. Trossard, they've been really good. They've always been a threat, haven't they, getting those runners in behind, whether it's Trossard, Mopé, Modder. You know, they've been such a threat in this first 45, and they've got a goal to show for those efforts.
We're into the 5th minute of added on time at the end of the first half. Brighton with that precious opener. They lead Newcastle by 1-0. And a big half-time team talk now for Steve Bruce. Newcastle with such a perilous run-in between now and the end of the season. Scott Parker will be tuning into this game, no doubt. He would have celebrated just as much as Graham Potter, and the goal scorer Trossard is in possession now over on the left-hand side, and there goes the half-time whistle. Well, we said it was a must-not lose for Brighton, a must-win for Newcastle, but at the moment it is the home side in the ascendancy. The 1-0 lead, the least they deserved, after an opening 45 minutes of almost complete domination. The goal coming in stoppage time, an absolute perler from Leandro Trossard. Steve Bruce trudges dejectedly back to the dressing room area. His side need a response in the second 45. The Tombs relegation woes deepen. Half-time at the Amex. It is Brighton 1, Newcastle 0. Yes, a potentially season-defining 45 minutes for Newcastle United. They trail by 1-0. Brighton starting this second half as they ended the first on the front foot. The team in blue shirts, white shorts and blue socks, taking the goal away to our left-hand side. Newcastle in the black and white striped jerseys, black shorts and black socks. Looks like Almiron is playing a more central position in this second half. Newcastle not exactly the comeback kings when it comes to second half recovery acts. In fact, they've won just 2 of their last 94 Premier League away games when losing at half time. Both of those matches coming in successive years against Tottenham, you do feel a second goal, David Connolly, for Brighton would really kill off this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously going to have to do something they haven't done in a very long time here, Newcastle. So, as you say, second goal will be a killer. And Brighton have just started exactly as they ended, you know, on the front foot. Here they are, winning possession again, breaking quickly.
Mopé playing in Welbeck, who was clearly offside and therefore didn't even make an attempt to get on the end of the pass. It's back now with Dubravka, the goalkeeper. I'll run you through the two lineups. Sanchez in goal for Brighton. It's a back three of White, Duncan, Veltman, Gross and Modder, the full Premier League debutant of the wing-backs. Basuma, Lallana deepest in midfield, with Leandro Trossard, the goal scorer, in behind Mopé and Welbeck, the split strikers for Newcastle, having been forced into a change late at the end of that first half. Isaac Hayden stretched it off, which, what I'm told, is suspected medial ligament damage of that left knee. It's Dubravka in goal, Manquillo, Clark, Lascelles and Dummett in defence, Willock, Shelby and Hendrick, who came on for the stricken Hayden, in midfield. And then a front three with Joe Ellington on the right hand side, Fraser on the left, and now Almiron as the central striker, David.
Yeah, that's how it looks. I mean, but Murphy's just going to warm up, so I imagine if this doesn't work, I don't think it will be hanging around too long, Steve Bruce.
Graham Jones and Steve Agnew both in behind Steve Bruce in the congested Newcastle technical area. Just smacked to me, David, of a team who don't really know what they're doing. The fact they've had to intervene so often, Steve Bruce and Graham Jones, put on instructions, change of formation. I suppose in some way you have to credit Graham Potter, because we didn't know how Brighton were going to line up, and seemingly nor did Newcastle.
Well, no, but I guess that, you know, the second half against Southampton would have told you that that might happen. You know, but either way, it doesn't matter what formation you set up, you know exactly how Brighton are going to play.
Here's Willock down the right-hand side, skips away from Basuma.
Not for
Joe
long,
Ellington
though.
waiting for the cross, but again it's won back by Basuma, and here's Trossard, the goal scorer, an excellent finish, cutting in from the left-hand side, curling it right-footed beyond Dubravka. He's another young player that Brighton have invested heavily in, one that they see as having a bright future. Has drawn comparisons in his homeland of Belgium to Eden Hazard, and other comparisons that Trossard himself is not particularly keen to embrace. He wants to be his own man. Here's Joe Ellington coming deep into midfield. He's away from Veltman. Can he get shot off here into Almiron? Almiron out to the left-hand side. Fraser against the post, with a goalkeeper beaten. Ryan Fraser inches away from levelling up for Newcastle. Comfortably their best move of the game, started by Joe Ellington. Almiron out to Fraser, and he just tried to curl it into the corner. The goalkeeper Sanchez wasn't getting there. Brighton rescued by the frame of the goal. Yeah, this is not too dissimilar to Trossard's finish. I mean, really good move. Starts with Joe Ellington just shrugging off Veltman, who tried to win the ball in front, and he had no real... He shouldn't have really gone for it. Joe Ellington gets the other side of him, feeds it into Almiron. Almiron gets a little turn on the edge of the box and then lays it out wide to Fraser to come onto it first time from that left-hand side with that right-footed curler, just trying to bend it back into the post. Well, that might just give Newcastle belief they can get back into this game, but here's Danny Welbeck, long punt upfield. His touch was heavy, and then allows the goalkeeper Dubravka to come bravely out at the feet of Welbeck and collapse on top of the loose ball. Route one from Brighton, David.
Yeah, and maybe this is why, you know, Steve Bruce has put Joe Ellington out on this side. He's playing out on the right, but all game, it doesn't matter wherever Veltman in, he's put Joe Ellington up against him. So maybe he feels out of that back three of Brighton. And you can understand, you know, he's not going to be stronger than Dunk, he's not going to be stronger than White, but he might be a little bit quicker and stronger, and, you know, be able to dominate maybe Joel Veltman out of those three.
I'm sure Brighton fans listening won't need me to remind them that their team have squandered 17 points from winning positions this season, most recently when David Connolly and I were here for the game against Leicester. They led in that one. They're beaten by 2-1, so Graham Potter will be all too well aware that their 1-0 lead is a slender one, and Ryan Fraser there almost getting Newcastle back on level terms with virtually their first meaningful attempt on goal.
Yeah, it was a good strike, wasn't it? Terrific technique there, just to curl it back in. It was unlucky, just came off the outside of the post.
You have to go back to Ryan Fraser's Newcastle debut back in the League Cup for when he last scored. Here is Welbeck, edge of the area, he curls one into the corner, Well, that could be the goal that seals the points for Brighton. Danny Welbeck, like Trossard in the first half, cut in from the left-hand side and arrowed a blistering right foot shot from 19 yards beyond Dubravka into the corner. It's another massive step towards safety for Brighton, and more despair for Steve Bruce and Newcastle. Danny Welbeck doubling the Seagulls' lead. It is Brighton 2, Newcastle 0.
Well, this is a wonderful finish here from Danny Welbeck. A good football again from Brighton. Starts with a throw and then they move the ball, progress it out to this left-hand side, and it is almost a carbon copy of Trossard's goal in terms of Welbeck drifting in from that corner of the box, trying to shift it onto his right foot. He had to take that extra touch just to get him a little bit more central, but he bends it beautifully again past the reach of Dubravka. Another great goal from Brighton.
Welcome once again to listeners from Talk Sport. Brighton, no sooner having survived at one end, Ryan Fraser crashing a shot against the post, have doubled their lead at the other. Danny Welbeck, with only his third goal of the season, almost identical to what Trossard did in the first half, cutting in from the left-hand side and sending a right foot curler spiralling from just outside the area beyond Dubravka and into the corner. Looks a long, long way back for Newcastle now, David Conley.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we've seen this against Man United, for example, when Rashford up against Kraft, down similar sort of side, cutting in, getting his shot off. That one was at the near post, but here, Danny Welbeck, wonderful finish. Great whip on the ball as well. We've seen two terrific goals. Great technique, Trossard and now Welbeck.
It's also the 49th league goal of Danny Welbeck's career. A career that has seen him score goals for England, win Premier League titles at Manchester United, FA Cups with Arsenal, and here he is now piloting Brighton seemingly towards Premier League safety. For Newcastle, well, their problems are growing and growing. We've played 54 minutes, it's Brighton 2, Newcastle 0. We do wonder if Mike Ashley now, during this international break, might just have a big decision to make in terms of the future of Steve Bruce.
Well, look, it's been a contrast in styles from the get-go, but we kind of knew that. But both goals have been fashioned, I think, from good football, you know, in terms of playing the pot away, the philosophy, a bit like chess, moving his pawns around the pitch, different sort of areas. And that one started with a throw, went from one side of the pitch all the way to the other in about 3 passes, and it just meant Welbeck had that, you know, a little bit of time and space 1v1, and obviously he's so good at it.
Well, anything Leandro Trossard can do, Danny Welbeck can do. 2 brilliant block-busting goals from Brighton. Surely now on their path to a huge 3 points here at the Amex. Here's Mopé, suddenly confidence oozing through these Seagulls players. Modder into the penalty area, left foot shot straight into the arms of Dubravka at the near post. Maybe a bit of naivety there from Modder.
He's a bit too wide, wasn't he, to go for goal there. Good break again. Welbeck this time runs on the inside, creates a little bit of space on the outside for Modder, but he's got to cut that ball back.
Well, Newcastle have only had fewer points 28 games into a Premier League season than they do now on one occasion. That was back in 2016 when they were relegated to the Championship. Those vociferous Toon supporters listening will be fearing a repeat. Fulham just 2 points back, and you just can't see where Newcastle's next win is coming from. It's been another limp performance from Steve Bruce's side, and they just look a bit resigned to their fate, David Conley, certainly tonight.
Yeah.
Danny Welbeck doubling the Brighton lead early in this second half after Leandro Trossard had struck in first half stoppage time.
I'm sure, look, when Steve is having his video meetings and the staff with Newcastle, yeah, I'm sure with those players, I'm sure they would have looked at all the Brighton games and goals, and they would have known, you know, they're going to boss the ball here. How are we going to get the ball off these? And, you know, it's nothing that you wouldn't know you were going to face, to be honest.
Here's Ben White driving at the Newcastle penalty area, plays it out to the right and got away from Shelvey. Here is Trossard trying to just guide it through to Mopé. Well won back by Newcastle, and Almiron trying to start a counter-attack here. Veltman cuts across and prevents Joe Ellington getting on the end of the ball, and it's out for a throw-in now Over on the left-hand side, Dwight Gale is going through a pretty rigorous warm-up for Newcastle, away to our left-hand side, and surely changes in the offing for Steve Bruce.
Yeah, what will he do here? Because obviously he's put a lot of his trust in Joe Linton, so he'll probably keep him on, I guess. Gonna need goals from somewhere. Can Gale come on and get one? He's obviously got Murphy too. He had a hand in Lascelles' header, didn't he?
They did show their powers of recovery against Aston Villa. That late equaliser from Lascelles, but they're going to have to come back from 2-0 down here, Newcastle.
Well, Murphy came on in that game, didn't he? Putting a really good ball for Lascelles' header.
At the moment, Brighton looking very comfortable. Here is Jamal Lascelles. Plays it out to the right-hand side. Manquillo well forward. He's got Modder for company. He's gone back into his own half, Manquillo, for Lascelles. Kieran Clark thought about going back to the goalkeeper, tries the more progressive pass down the left-hand side to Dummett. This is Fraser coming deep. He gives the ball away to Pascal Gross. He played 57 minutes. It's Brighton 2, Newcastle 0. A reminder, tomorrow we have an FA Cup double header on TalkSport. Chelsea against Sheffield United is a 1:30 kick-off. Can Sheffield United rally themselves to cause an upset at Stamford Bridge? And then at 5 o'clock, Leicester against Manchester United. What a game that will be at the King Power Stadium. Already today we brought you Bournemouth 0, Southampton 3. Southampton through to the FA Cup semi-final, so too Manchester City, who beat Everton by 2-0. Live and exclusive on TalkSport. Manchester City still in the hunt for 4 trophies. In the Championship here on TalkSport 2, a defeat for Swansea at home to Cardiff in the South Wales derby by a 1-0. Brentford slipping up as well. Watford made it 9 wins in 10. Only a draw for Norwich, but those two looking relatively comfortable now in the automatic promotion places. Big day in League One as well. All of the top 6 dropping points. Portsmouth, Danny Cowley in charge for the first time. They beat Ipswich by 2-1. We're now just outside the playoff places. It's going to be a fascinating end to the season in all divisions. And of course, we'll bring it to you live, every twist and turn on TalkSport and on TalkSport 2. It's going to be a nerve-shredding end to the season as far as Newcastle are concerned. Here's Almiron, edge of the area, plays it out to the left-hand side, and Fraser in a similar position to where Trossard bent one in for Brighton at the end of the first half. Fraser goes short to Almiron. It's given away tamely by Hendrick, and they can come forward here, Brighton. Scooped over the top by Trossard. Mopé running into trouble in the form of Clark, who quickly has played it out to the left-hand side, and Fraser to Joe Willock on the edge of the area. On loan from Arsenal, Willock. Here's Hendrick now. Good spell of possession this from Newcastle, who trail 2-0 at the Amex. Fraser crosses from the right-hand side, but chested down under no pressure at all from Lewis Dunk, who then volleys it up to the halfway line. It's been so timid, so tentative from Newcastle. They aren't playing like a side who are in the thick of a relegation battle. Here's John Joe Shelvey. It's going to be fascinating to see what Steve Bruce makes of it all when I speak to him post-match. Here's Adam Lallana now for Brighton, halfway inside the Seagulls' half, given away. And now Miron tries to switch the play. He's just played the pass out of touch on that far side and out for a throw, and we are going to see Murphy, David Connolly, very shortly.
Yeah, what does he do? Does he leave, Miggy there, kicking the ball straight off the pitch, very unlike him, but obviously straight back into the side, thrust in, needs must, but will he come off for Murphy maybe? Because obviously you don't want to run the risk if he got injured, but if you want to get back in the game, obviously you don't want to take some of your better players off.
Well, here comes Jacob Murphy, who did make a difference, as David has already relayed during that comeback point against Aston Villa. Here's Danny Welbeck on the edge of the area, trying to cut in onto his right foot once again. I mean, nothing that Dubravka in goal could do, David.
No, there wasn't. On both finishes, he moved across the pitch, moved across the goal well, but they're just really well placed right in the corners.
And here's Welbeck again, left corner of the Newcastle penalty area. Hour gone, 2-0 Brighton lead here. Murphy's still waiting to come on next time the ball is there. Here's Modder. 10 yards outside the penalty area, Modder rolls it into the feet of Lallana, who first time just strokes it out to the right hand side, and Gross. It's going to be a left footed cross from him Volley clear by John Joe Shelvey. No real sign of a Newcastle recovery. It's Joe Willock who is making way for Murphy. Steve Bruce, the first manager to go to his bench in this second half. Just been shown a shot on a mobile tablet here from our producer Sal David. Trending on Twitter at the moment. Bruce out. Sack Steve Bruce. It isn't going to silence any of his doubters, this performance.
No, it's not. But I guess, look, Willock there, he did a lot of running around because obviously he's up against the side here, so he's, maybe not going to get on the ball a lot, which is, I can't understand. And we said at the start, he's obviously not trying to be clever here, but why they didn't start Sean Longstaff, for example? Because when you're facing Brighton, it doesn't matter what position they are in the table, they're going to try and boss and dominate the ball. So Steve would have known this and his staff, so why he didn't start someone who's probably the fittest and who runs around the most, I don't quite know. I mean, Willock was barely in the game. Willock's a player who you want on the ball in a sort of ball dominant team, but that was never going to be Newcastle today.
No Callum Wilson in their ranks once again. I think he is back on the grass, and Steve Bruce will be hoping available soon after the international break, which might just come at a good time for Newcastle to regroup.
But the training ground, can you imagine, when you're down the bottom and results are bad and the atmosphere around the locality, that's a tough challenge here.
A really poor tackle from Dummett, went right through the back of Pascal Gross as a yellow card, and I think that's just a sign of Newcastle's frustration coming out there in that tackle.
Absolutely, especially obviously when you haven't had a lot of the ball. You just want to smash someone. But sometimes a training ground, look, when you're winning, great, and you have a little break, everyone goes off in their internationals or whatever, and but if you're not in around that training ground, it can be a very, very long period.
You're listening to Brighton against Newcastle on TalkSport 2 with Now. Don't forget you can watch Brighton Newcastle live right now on Sky Sports for just £9.99. Search Now Sports.
And I just wonder as well, Alex, what sort of squad, what sort of players are going to be left around the training ground to go and work with, So it's 2 weeks of, depending on how this game ends, 2 weeks of Steve Bruce facing a lot of questions. It's a long time, isn't it?
What about these leaks coming out of the dressing room? We had the incident with Ryan Fraser, that all blew up. Steve Bruce very angry that was run by a newspaper, despite confirming the story was correct. And I think again he was having to answer questions about Matt Ritchie in the build-up to this game.
Well, that was in terms of the sub, making the sub coming on, and him obviously calling out Matt that he didn't bring those instructions onto the pitch, and it cost the team. So no player's going to like that, whether that was true or not. Obviously he retracted that, didn't he, Steve? But damage was done.
Do you think he's enjoying being Newcastle manager?
Well, I think he's very well paid, so I guess that compensates somewhat for the stick you get. He's always been very well paid. Always. I remember I left Sunderland, you hear stories coming out of what he was earning at Sunderland. Absolute mega money.
Lewis Dunk plays it back to Sanchez in the Brighton goal. 5 clean sheets in his last 10 matches, and 26 minutes away from another here on Game Day on TalkSport 2. Brighton 2, Newcastle 0. Sanchez fizzing the pass out to the left-hand side, and Veltman. Mopé forward to Basuma. Trossard's made a good run ahead of him. Basuma goes out to the right, and Gross. Trossard continues his run into the area. Welbeck there as well. Gross plays it against Dummett and out for a corner. And we focused a lot on Newcastle. They're such a huge club. And that stadium at St James's Park just towers above the rest of the city like a crash-landed spaceship. But we should credit Brighton tonight as well. It's been a night when they've had to rejig. So many first-choice defenders unavailable. They've played really well.
Yeah, they have. Good move there, wasn't it? The goalkeeper fizzing out to Veltman, then banging it infield to Trossard, lets it run through his legs, and before you know it, start with the goalkeeper, they've got a corner.
That corner will be taken by Pascal Gross from the right-hand side. Dunk up to attack. It wasn't a great ball in. Veltman keeps it alive. Dunk heads it across the line of the 18-yard box, and it's cleared away, and maybe Newcastle now can counter. Shelby trying to release Fraser, who is quick. He's only at this stage got Murphy ahead of him. Fraser checks back towards halfway. And Dummett infield to Kieran Clark, and you can hear the applause of appreciation for how quickly Brighton, having been attacking a corner at 1 minute, got back in their defensive shape and made it really difficult for Ryan Fraser to do anything other than check back into his own half. Here is Leandro Trossard, the man whose goal in first half stoppage time really provided the platform for Brighton for what at the moment looks like a comfortable win. They lead by 2-0 with 67 minutes gone. Danny Welbeck with a superbly taken second goal in the early minutes of the second half as Kieran Clark just clips Mopé from behind. He's not happy with the theatrical reaction of Brighton's French striker, but it is a free kick.
Well, you got to credit as well Graham Potter in terms of how he gets a lot of these technicians into his team. You know, because Trossard is better off the front, right? So he's put him there, but then that means Lallana doesn't play there. So where does he put him? Well, he puts him in the middle of the park alongside Basuma. Can they carry sort of someone like Adam in there? You know, he's not a destroyer or anything, but a lot of ground to cover. Well, the way to do that is to dominate the ball, so they've got to be, you know, a ball possession team. Means they then play through at the back. They have the split striker. So an awful lot has gone into this performance from the manager, moving his players around.
Trossard forward to Modder. Tall in stature, Jakob Modder. He's used that strength to get away from Manquillo, plays it into Mopé, wanted to play it first time for Trossard around the core of the Newcastle defence. It was intercepted by Shelvey. Veltman into the feet of Danny Welbeck, who's got Clark and Shelvey to skip away from. And back to Yves Basuma. Brighton continuing to dominate the ball. Acres of space for Pascal Gross out in the Brighton right, and Welbeck slides the ball into his feet just on the corner of the 18-yard box. Gross trying to turn away from Dummett, crossing into the area, and a brilliant volley from Neal Maupay to rub more salt into Newcastle wounds. It's his first goal in 10 in the Premier League, but Brighton home and hose now. It's going to be back-to-back Premier League wins for the Seagulls just when they needed them. And Newcastle United on the end of a hammering here at the Amex. Brighton 3, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, and it was coming. Fantastic football again from Brighton. You know, it's Basuma, fizzes it into Welbeck. He then shovels it out wide to Gross. He fakes to deliver with his left foot, then ducks back on the outside, plays a brilliant cross into the box. He's almost sort of deceived if he's going to whip it in behind the back line, but instead he just drags it a little bit deeper, more towards the penalty spot. And there's Neal Maupay, just a couple of yards off Lascelles. He gets a sort of volleyed contact on it. It's not clean, bounces into the ground, but again it's in the corner. 3-0 to Brighton. They've been absolutely brilliant.
Welcome again to listeners from Talk Sport. Newcastle certainly not enjoying their trip to the Sussex seaside. Neal Maupay with the acrobatic volley, making it Brighton 3, Newcastle 0. 3 terrifically taken goals, actually, adding to strikes at the end of the first half from Leandro Trossard and early in the second from Danny Welbeck. It's a question now, David Conley, of how many Brighton want to win by.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're just going to keep playing their way, you know, and it's just it's going to be a long night, but we knew this would be a long night. It's just whether, you know, they could absorb all this pressure and possession play, Newcastle, and they're in again here, Brighton.
Yeah, Maupay scoops it over the top for Trossard. Jonjo Shelvey back there doing his defensive duty, clears it away from inside the 6-yard box, but they're just showing more hunger, Brighton, more desire, and that will be unforgivable, really, to the thousands upon thousands of Toon supporters tuning into this game. 70 minutes played, Brighton 3, Newcastle 0. And you wonder how Steve Bruce will legislate after the game for the chasm in quality, considering how closely matched the two teams are in terms of the Premier League table. One team have shown vigour, determination, footballing talent. The other, well, let's be frank, they've stunk the place out, David Conley. This is horrendous from Newcastle. This is the type of performance that gets managers sacked. Well,
I mean, look, it's just because I've seen Brighton, and you've seen them, Alex, so many times. We know how good they can be, and look, it's not trying to be clever. We knew this was going to be a game. This is exactly how the game was going to pan out. It's just whether Brighton could take their chances. They were always going to dominate the ball here, and it's just, you know, going from bad to worse here. They're in again, Brighton.
Maupay into the penalty area. Kieran Clark sliding in and just stabbing the ball behind. They look absolutely
gone. They're
bereft,
gone. Yeah.
Newcastle, of any kind of confidence. They just can't wait for these final 20 minutes to end and to get back on the coach and start that long trip back up to the northeast.
I think he selected the wrong side. We said that before the game. I would have played someone like Sean Longstaff. You know, you need legs when you're facing a side like Brighton. You really do. It doesn't matter what position they're in the table. You're going to chase after the ball an awful lot.
Brighton 3-0 winners against Newcastle when the two met at St James's Park. They could win by even more tonight. Short corner routine. Nobody in a black and white shirt bothered to pick up Lallana. He plays it back to Pascal Gross. Left-footed delivery in towards Lewis Dunk. Headed away by Lascelles. Steve Bruce desperately screaming some instructions, but he looks a manager who has totally run out of ideas here, much like his team have totally run out of ideas on the pitch. I mean, they're going to make another change. I think Graham Jones just signalling for, is it Longstaff to come on? The change that you've been crying out for since minute one.
Well, yeah, from before the game. But look, it's one thing, you know, they would have known they lost 3-0 to them previously. They would have seen all the videos, all the tapes, watched them here against Leicester as we did. They were brilliant, Brighton, especially first half. Watched them here against Villa, where they absolutely dominated, didn't get the goal. So they would have known they were going to face this sort of challenge. But if you're going to go back to front the whole time, well, you know, you're not going to see a lot of the ball. So they had to have a game plan to try and keep possession of it. But you can't suddenly change your philosophy in a matter of days, whether you bring in someone like Graham Jones or not.
Longstaff is just making his way down to the touchline, ready to come on. It's a difficult situation, isn't it, for a substitute, because clearly you want to get out there and try and help your team, but you know it's a pretty thankless and pretty hopeless task as well.
Well, look, you know, he's obviously come through the academy. You know, he's a local lad. He'll want to, doesn't matter the scoreline, I guess, for him. He'll want to come on and show that he's fit and he's ready to go and have an impact on this game.
Newcastle trailing by 3-0. 17 minutes to play here on Game Day Live on TalkSport 2. Don't forget tomorrow, FA Cup quarter-final action dominating the schedule. 1:30 we have Chelsea at home to Sheffield United live on TalkSport, and at 5 o'clock it's Leicester against Manchester United. I should mention there's a special show, Johnny Owen and friends, joined by a host of cast members from Line of Duty, which returns to our screens tomorrow night. It gets underway at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Should be bags of fun, and maybe something to cheer up these Newcastle fans, having seen their side absolutely torn to shreds here at the Amex. Basuma there ahead of John Joe Shelvey. Again, he just wanted it more. Basuma looking for Mopé in the centre. The goalkeeper Dubravka comes a long way out and clears it upfield. And slumps his shoulders. Dubravka, he's been beaten 3 times and he was powerless to stop any of them.
Well, how many times has Basuma picked up possession? You know, that was almost a 60-40 in Shelby's favour, and he come out with the ball, Basuma.
But that's the most alarming thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was just a Brighton player showing more determination than his Newcastle counterpart, and that's happened all over the pitch. Here is Newcastle in possession with Murphy. Infield to Kieran Clark. Longstaff still waiting to come on in front of us. Brighton leading by 3-0. And 15 minutes remaining. Fraser with a deflected effort. Easy save down low to his left by Sanchez, and that's what they've been restricted to, Newcastle. Shots from distance.
It hasn't been enough for them, but this time Fraser picking it up outside the box. Not too dissimilar sort of area to where Welbeck scored from, and Trossard took a little nick on the way through though. Comfortable save. It's got to be something I think special for Sanchez. He made that error, didn't he, against Leicester late on, but normally obviously in the Spain squad, isn't he? So obviously recognition internationally as well.
A big call from Graham Potter as well, replacing Matty Ryan as number 1, but certainly worked in Brighton's favour. With the score at 3-0 to Brighton. Let's get the latest odds with 888 Sport. We can currently get Brighton to win at 1 to 1,000, 200 to 1 if you think Newcastle can come back and claim a draw, and 1,000 to 1 if you think they're going to win by 4 goals to 3 here. That was the latest odds from 888 Sport. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly. BeGambleAware.org. Not sure too many people will be lumping on Newcastle at 1,000 to 1. Brighton, almost from the first whistle, absolutely dominated this game. And this is a team, remember, who've only won 1 of their last 18 matches here at the Amex. That was against Tottenham by 1-0, and I think Graham Potter will be relieved after tonight that statistic that I keep bringing up every time I commentate, 3 home wins in 3 different calendar years, that will no longer be the case, David Conley.
Yeah. And here's Miggy Almiron. I wondered whether he'd last the game, because obviously, look, it's one of those games he's come back in. Obviously, they really needed him, but he doesn't want him to get injured, so probably got to sacrifice him, although he probably doesn't want to take him off. Has got Longstaff in the side, though, now. And there'll be a lot of, look, I watched the Netflix series, the Sunderland one, leading up to the trophy final, you know, and obviously the North East, lived in the North East, and a great place, but you can imagine, like when Sunderland were conceding goals, you know, when that first goal went in, there'll be Newcastle fans up and down the country listening, watching, would have just gone, turned it off and gone, well, they're not going to come back from here. Maybe not turned it off, but just would have been resigned to the fate, you know, that they're going to lose this game.
And I've been accused of defending Steve Bruce, and we spoke about the pressure on him and maybe how that's become a bit personal, and talk from his son certainly that death threats have been received. Clearly we don't condone that, but I know they've got injuries, but so have Brighton. I just don't think you can use those injuries to hide behind this performance. You said it, tactically they've got it all wrong, Newcastle. The lack of effort and endeavour, given what is at stake tonight, is alarming. I think we are getting to the stage now where, and you don't want to call for managers to go, but Mike Ashley's going to be under a huge amount of pressure now to make a change, because at the moment Newcastle are only going one way, and that's down into the Championship.
Yeah, well, I guess, and this is with the benefit of obviously Fulham losing. You know, imagine Fulham had picked up points the other night, then this defeat, well, they'd be in the bottom three, wouldn't they? You know, there's no coming back from this now, that's for sure.
But Fulham just seem to have more character.
Well, they have a way, certainly they've got a way that they've been playing lately, and been, I know they lost the Leeds, but being in the main hard to beat, grinding results out, but that's not the case for Newcastle.
Well, the man whose goal set Brighton on the pathway to victory, Leandro Trossard, is making his way off, doesn't look particularly delighted about it. It's a super strike from the Belgian, cutting in for the left-hand side, curling it right-footed beyond Dubravka. In first half, stoppage time to open the scoring, and he is being replaced by Alexis McAllister, the Argentine with Scottish ancestry, hence the name, the surname.
Well, he scored a terrific goal, Trossard, as he did against Southampton, really well taken. This one from outside the box, which is pleasing, like Welbeck's, you know, so they didn't have to work it into the box. You know, took it on outside and finished it really, really well.
They don't score many goals, Leandro Trossard doesn't, but when he does, they tend to be ones of significance. The winner here against Tottenham, that winner at St Mary's last week, and the goal that really gave Brighton the springboard here to go on and produce a really good performance, a really impressive victory, and they will be 6 points clear of the relegation places. And that will be a gap that Graham Potter will feel gives his side real breathing space. He did say after that win against Southampton that they have renewed hope now that they can stay up. Here is Adam Lallana, his return to the team, his return to full fitness has been a really important part of what they've done over the last few weeks. I
mean, if you remember, we go back a couple of weeks ago and I read that bit out in the programme, and I forget the player, it might have been Trossard, I can't remember who it was, saying about Adam, he was injured at the time, or he was on the bench, saying how great he is in the dressing room, and I said, Adam, yeah, he'd like that, but he doesn't want to be a cheerleader. You know, he'll want to play.
Here's Mopé into the penalty area, cuts it back, and there's a chance here for another goal, and it's a good save. Coming in from the right-hand side, I think it was Pascal Gross's shot, and it's well blocked in the end.
I think it's Lascelles there on the line, close to the line.
But again, there were 4 blue shirts queuing up to tap in number 4, and there's been a couple of those heroic blocks where Brighton could have run riot here tonight, and just the one real chance for Newcastle. Ryan Fraser denied by the post early in the second half. That was a big turning point, because Brighton almost instantaneously went up the other end, and Welbeck made it 2-0.
Yeah, and this is what Potter wanted. He wanted, just going back to Adam Lallana there, you know, he would have wanted him, yes, he's great in the dressing room, you know, but everyone giving everyone, you know, the G up or a bit of advice, but where's he going to do most damage? Where are you going to help the team most? Out on the pitch, you know? And I'm sure it would have hurt Adam being injured a lot, you know, and people questioning him, and it's not someone that sort of played with him where, but he's a great lad, terrific player as well. And finally he looks to put a run of performances together, you know, and Brighton is certainly benefiting.
And the other reason why this win for Brighton is so important, as Newcastle play the ball around inside their own 18-yard box, content just to try and keep possession here and run down the clock and avoid an even bigger margin of defeat. Sheffield United and Wolverhampton Wanderers, the only teams that Brighton have left to play who aren't in the top 11 in the Premier League, so it's a difficult run in for them as well. That's why that buffer between them and Fulham will be so important. Of course, it puts daylight also between them and Newcastle.
Well, they played, don't they? Newcastle played Fulham last game of the season, so...
At Craven Cottage.
Goodness me.
And there could be fans inside the ground as well by then. What an incredible relegation shootout that could be. Andy Zakiri is making his way from his seat on the bench to come on here for Brighton, who lead by 3-0. 8 minutes remaining at the end of another busy game day across the TalkSport network. FA Cup quarter-final wins for Southampton and for Manchester City away from home at Everton as well. And here on TalkSport 2, we brought you the South Wales derby. Swansea beaten at home by Mick McCarthy's rejuvenated Cardiff by 1-0. Throw in for Brighton. This game almost being played at a walking pace now. Throw in level with the corner of Steve Bruce's technical area on this near touchline. And it's played forward to McAllister. Welbeck looks like he's timed his run. Mope's waiting in the middle. Welbeck into the corner. Good save, Dubravka. The flag goes up belatedly anyway. Danny Welbeck for a moment thought he was in for a second goal.
Yeah, he's clearly offside though, but obviously with this rule, this law, they got to let the play come to its conclusion. It's tight, but he was offside. I think it's his last action, is it?
Yep, Danny Welbeck making way for Andy Zakiri, the Swiss striker. Actually ended up playing as a wing-back, Zakiri, against Southampton last week.
There was talk he could start tonight, you know, and why he didn't, but obviously Mudder's come in and magnificent, so
Danny Welbeck will have to wait a little bit longer for his 50th career league goal, but a big smile across the face of the former Watford, Arsenal and Manchester United forward. A few fist pumps from members of the Brighton backroom staff. It was a terrifically taken second goal from Danny Welbeck to really take this game away from Newcastle early in the second half.
And I guess how many times, Alex, has Graham Potter had the luxury of taking two players off who scored goals, you know, who play in that front line? Not very often. Normally when you get hooked as a forward, you know, obviously you haven't scored, so affects your dent your confidence or whatever, but not these two. Both scored, so I think Potter wisely can take them off knowing that they'll still be buoyed by their goals.
And coming into this game, Brighton had 81 shots in their last 5 Premier League matches. They'd only scored 4 goals. Certainly not had any problem finding the back of the net this evening. You are listening to Brighton against Newcastle on TalkSport 2 with WeBuyAnyCar.com. Don't part exchange. Get money off your next car. Go to WeBuyAnyCar.com.
I mean, I saw Newcastle against Brentford as well, you know, in the Cup. And
they were dreadful that night.
They were absolutely
that for me was when I think the wider public opinion began to turn, because in fairness to Newcastle fans, they've been calling out the manager all season. I think a lot of people in the media, that Brentford game was a real eye-opener, because it was a massive chance, wasn't it, for Newcastle to get to a semi-final. And they just didn't turn up against championship opponents, and a Brentford side who left out half their best team.
Yep.
That was when the rot really started to set in. 2 wins in 18 now in the Premier League, none in 6 games after tonight. Actually away from home, they've only led David Connolly for a combined total all season of 62 minutes. You can understand why the natives in the North East are restless, and they'll be even more so after this humbling at the hands of one of their relegation rivals. It's Brighton in possession with Lallana, deep inside his own half. Lewis Dunk trotting forward. And from a defensive point of view, apart from that one effort from Ryan Fraser, they've been able to coast through all night, really, Brighton.
Well, because they're a side that like to dominate the ball, and that certainly helps. And they've got a really good goalkeeper. He's excellent with his feet, and obviously he's got to be something special to beat him along the ground. You know, the back unit has been solid as a rock. You know, Dunk and White, I mean, they're so... Sean Veltman is so comfortable on the ball. Every time from the goalkeeper, Sancho, he's always on. Both-footed. Left and right, not a problem to him.
Here's Modder, what a confident Premier League debut he's had. Really setting the tone with those couple of early opportunities. Jakob Modder, a surprise name in Graham Potter's starting lineup, but certainly has justified that selection. Here's Alana, who's going to get 90 minutes under his belt, it seems. Plays it out the left-hand side, and Veltman. Still Brighton looking the more likely to add to the scoring. McAllister down by the corner flag. This is Zakiri now. If there were a crowd inside the Amex, they would be olaying now as Brighton just stroke the ball around with verve. Back it goes to Sanchez, all in orange away to our right-hand side. There will be 3 added minutes at the end of this game. We're into the 89th minute. Brighton lead by 3 goals to 0. I think they're going to make a change. Brighton. Looks like Davy Pröper will be coming on to do no more really than just get his appearance bonus, David.
Well, it's good. It's another sign, I think, of the bench, being strong.
Long punt upfield looking for Mopé. Lascelles heads it clear for Newcastle. Manquillo grimacing there as he tried to keep the ball in play. He couldn't. I think Brighton will now get an opportunity to make their change. Graham Potter just putting his arm around Davy Pröper, relaying his final instructions before coming on. Not before Veltman has taken the throw back into the Brighton half, and Lewis Dunk. Dunk, a product of Brighton's youth academy, great servant he's been, the captain. Signed a new contract in the summer when there were 1 or 2 whispers that maybe he was on Chelsea's radar. Here's Adam Lallana gliding effortlessly away from Joe Ellington. Making his way towards the centre circle, Lallana. Gets it back from Basuma. It's almost like a training session now for Brighton. Basuma trying to play it through the middle, looking for Zakiri. Chests it down under pressure from Lascelles and hooks it out to his left-hand side, and Modder. Murphy does well there to usher the ball away from Modder and makes his way towards the centre circle. He has his heels clipped by McAllister. It's a free kick for Newcastle. Here comes the Brighton change. It will be Jakob Modder who makes way. I think I went a bit early with the 3 added minutes. That was what the TV director was indicating down the touchline. We've still got 2 minutes to 90 to play. Good debut from Jakob Modder.
Yeah, very good. I thought, especially in that first 45, thought he was excellent. Made some great runs, really intelligent. Those positions he picked up. If Welbeck went on the inside as a striker, he raided on the outside, and if Welbeck was wide, he went on the inside. Such a threat.
Yes, Zakiri trying to pose a threat down the left-hand side, and Brighton are claiming that he was manhandled by Manquillo. The foul has gone the other way, so a free kick for Newcastle inside their 18-yard box. Dubravka takes it quickly. Clearly he still believes they can get something from this game. Not sure many of his teammates do. Kieran Clark goes back to Dubravka. Floats it out to that left-hand side, and Dummett. What have you made of the body language of the Newcastle players, David?
Well, look, they've kept going. They have kept going. But, they just look completely deflated. They weren't set up in the right manner to begin with, and I'm sure they'll be getting that back on the bus amongst themselves, chatting. But stuff comes out from the players. I mean, John Joe Shelby said, we're all behind the manager, etc. But obviously need performances on the pitch, I guess, to back that up.
Into the last 30 seconds of the normal 90 minutes. The regulation 90 minutes. It's cleared forward by Veltman from the left-back position for Brighton. Zakiri trying to watch it and being under control. Shelby steps in, but Lascelles has had his pocket picked by Pröper. That's a good challenge by Clark. Sliding in to beat McAllister for the loose ball, but it's won back by Lallana. And then McAllister sweeps it out to the right-hand side, and Pascal Gross. Can Brighton get a fourth here? To really add insult to injury. Mopé brings it down inside the area. I think he just wanted one touch too many, and that allowed Jamal Lascelles to get there and clear it for Newcastle. There is confirmation of 3 added minutes at the end of the game. David Conley.
Yeah, and just looking at some of these Brighton players, they'll be really buoyed by this, because it's been another really good performance. Backed it up, obviously, the Southampton one before that, and the first half against Leicester, against a Leicester side who were going for second. First 45, thought they were outstanding, so they put in some good performances and got their reward here. And he's had the luxury to make subs, 3-0 up, take a couple of lads off who've got goals. Mopé, I guess, has got a goal as well. So there's all those little wins along the way in this sort of performance tonight.
Well, the front three have all scored.
Yeah.
And that, as you've already said, hasn't happened too often over the course of the season, although they always seem to fill their boots against Newcastle, an exact replica of the 3-0 win that they had at St James's Park, a double over the Magpies for the first time since 1979, but more significantly, a 6-point gap now between Brighton and those relegation places. And it's amazing what a difference back-to-back wins can make. And the second time this season that they've won successive Premier League matches, Brighton. Murphy with a cross into no man's land, really, taken easily from the air by Sanchez, who I think for the cameras there just hangs in the air and collapses over the top of the ball. It's another clean sheet for Robert Sanchez.
I mean, who was that aimed for? I mean, Joelinton, he never moved Joelinton at the back post, and if you go back to that first half, you know, he's out-muscled by Veltman once, and maybe Veltman he sort of got in behind Veltman then just after that, but that's about it. Other than that, you know, we've seen nothing from the Newcastle. Yeah, he's the number 9. He's got the number 9 on his back, but I mean, Steve Bruce tries to defend him, but he doesn't play like the Newcastle number 9. I thought we might say, I don't know, Dwight Gale or Andy Carroll or someone.
I think Alan Shearer, the former Newcastle striker, has summed it up quite neatly on Twitter. One word: abysmal. And that really does sum up this performance from Steve Bruce's team. More questions now to be asked of the under-pressure Newcastle manager. And they're going to have 2 long weeks to lick their wounds and contemplate where they go from here. Newcastle, Fulham snapping away at their heels. We're into the last 30 seconds of 3 added minutes. Shelby sweeps it forward one last time to the Brighton penalty area. Joe Ellington doesn't even bother to challenge Lewis Dunk, and Brighton just playing out time now. The goals from Leandro Trossard, a curling effort in first half stoppage time to open the scoring. Danny Welbeck with an almost exact replica early in the second half, doubling that lead, and then Neil Maupay with a bumping volley on 69 minutes, putting the contest beyond Newcastle. And there goes the full-time whistle. Newcastle's dreadful season sinks to a new low on the Sussex coast. An abject, gutless performance from Steve Bruce's side to leave the Newcastle manager facing surely more question marks about his future. It's a significant step towards safety for Brighton on the back of that win against Southampton last time out. But where Newcastle go from here, well, perhaps only Mike Ashley truly knows. Just 2 points now between them and the relegation places, and you just can't imagine where their next victory is coming from. Full time at the Amex. Brighton 3, Newcastle 0.